Hello everyone, Red Lip here. Las Vegas, the city where celebrity chefs charge $300 for mediocre tasting menus, and tourists willingly pay $50 for a plate of pad thai on the Strip. But what if I told you that right now, in an unassuming strip mall in Chinatown, there's a restaurant serving some of the most authentic, masterfully crafted dim sum you'll find outside of Hong Kong? And everything on the menu is just $5.99? No, your ears aren't deceiving you. And this isn't some late-night fever dream after too many comps at the casino bar. We've just discovered what might be the most important restaurant opening in Vegas this year. And I'm about to take you inside before the secret gets out, and the lines stretch even longer than they already do. The question is, can a restaurant that opened less than a month ago really compete with Vegas's established dim sum dynasties like Ping Pang Pong and Shanghai Taste? Today, we're diving fork first into Ellie's Chinese restaurant, where the owner speaks zero English, the temporary banner is held up with duct tape, and the food is so good that customers are literally trying to steal dumplings off neighboring tables. I've eaten at every major dim sum spot from Spring Mountain to the Strip, dropped thousands of dollars at high-end Chinese restaurants in pursuit of perfection. And I can tell you this, what's happening at Ellie's right now is nothing short of revolutionary. We're going to break down every single dish that matters, from the chive dumplings that caused an actual altercation between diners, to the XO noodles that will haunt your dreams. I'll tell you exactly what to order, what to skip if they ever add anything worth skipping, and why you need to drop everything and go there immediately before this grand opening pricing disappears forever. Let's start with something that sets the tone for everything that follows. Those infamous garlic chive dumplings that nearly started a dim sum riot at the table next to us. Picture this. Translucent wheat starch skin so delicate it barely contains the filling, yet somehow achieves a gentle crisp on the bottom that shatters under your teeth like autumn leaves. The filling is a revelation. Massive chunks of sweet oceanic shrimp that taste like they were swimming yesterday, mingled with sharp Chinese garlic chives that provide an almost electric counterpoint to the seafood sweetness. There's a perfectly seasoned pork element that acts as the binding agent, not overwhelming the shrimp, but providing that essential savory backbone that transforms good dumplings into transcendent ones. When you bite into these, and you must do this carefully because they're volcanic with juice, you get this immediate explosion of briny liquid that coats your mouth with pure umami. It's the kind of messy, finger-licking, utterly primal eating experience that reminds you why humans have been wrapping things in dough for thousands of years. The woman at the table next to us literally tried to grab these off our cart before the server could place them down. And honestly, after tasting them, I understood the impulse completely. At $5.99 for an order, these would be a steal at twice the price. And they're better than versions I've paid $18 for at Mott 32. Moving on to what I call the little footballs. Crispy, fried pork dumplings that represent centuries of Cantonese culinary evolution, perfected in a Vegas strip mall. These originated in the tea houses of Guangdong province, where morning dim sum became a social institution. And the technique hasn't changed much because it doesn't need to. The glutinous rice flour dough is a marvel of chemistry and timing. It puffs and bubbles when it hits the oil, creating this golden honeycomb crust that's simultaneously crispy and chewy. Inside, Ellie's packs them with a mixture of hand-chopped pork, fresh garlic chives, aromatic garlic, and just enough Chinese five-spice to add complexity without overwhelming the palate. What strikes you immediately is the juiciness. These aren't those dry, disappointing versions you find at mediocre buffets where they've been sitting under heat lamps since the Clinton administration. Each bite releases a flood of porky goodness that's been perfectly seasoned. And I mean perfectly. No reaching for the soy sauce or chili oil needed here. The texture contrast is what elevates these from good to extraordinary. That shatteringly crisp exterior giving way to the tender, almost creamy filling. I've had these at Din Tai Fung, at every major dim sum palace on Spring Mountain, and these are unquestionably in the top tier. Now, let's talk about the lotus leaf sticky rice. What we affectionately call the little anvils because they'll end your appetite faster than a Mike Tyson uppercut. This is a dish that dates back to imperial banquets, where the lotus leaves weren't just packaging, but an essential flavoring component. infusing the rice with subtle floral notes during the steaming process. Ellie's version is a masterclass in balance and restraint. The glutinous rice is neither too wet nor too dry, maintaining that perfect sticky texture that holds together without becoming gummy. The filling is generous without being overwhelming. Chunks of seasoned pork that have been marinated in what tastes like a combination of soy, Shaoxing wine, and fermented black beans. There are shiitake mushrooms providing that essential earthiness, their concentrated umami playing beautifully against the mild sweetness of the rice. Some versions include Chinese sausage, dried shrimp, or salted egg yolk, but Ellie's keeps it pure and focused, letting each component shine without muddling the flavors. Unwrapping these at the table is part of the ritual. The leaves peel back to reveal the glistening mound of rice, steam escaping with that distinctive lotus fragrance. It's comfort food at its finest. The kind of dish that makes you understand why certain recipes survive unchanged for centuries. The hargao, or crystal shrimp dumplings, are where you really see the skill level of the dim sum chef, because there's literally nowhere to hide. These are considered the ultimate test in Cantonese kitchens. The skin must be translucent enough to see the pink shrimp through it, yet strong enough not to tear when picked up with chopsticks. At Ellie's, they've achieved that holy grail of hargao perfection. Skins with an almost ethereal quality, so thin they seem to disappear on your tongue. The shrimp filling is pristine, massive pieces that have been butterflied and lightly seasoned with just a hint of ginger and white pepper. There's no fishiness here. None of that ammonia smell you get from shrimp that's been frozen too long or stored improperly. These taste like the ocean in the best possible way. Clean, sweet, with that distinctive snap that only comes from absolutely fresh crustaceans. The pleating on top isn't just decorative. Those 7 to 13 folds are a mark of craftsmanship, each one requiring precise pressure and timing. When you dip these in a tiny bit of soy sauce, though they honestly don't need it, you're experiencing dim sum at its most refined and elemental. The shumai deserve their own dissertation because they represent everything that's right about Ellie's approach to traditional dim sum. These open-topped dumplings have traveled from northern China, through Canton, and across the Pacific, evolving at each stop but maintaining their essential character. The filling here is a symphony of textures. Bouncy shrimp pieces providing contrast to the smooth pork paste, with water chestnuts adding crucial crunch. There's wood ear mushroom lending its distinctive chewiness, and enough garlic to announce itself without dominating the conversation. The yellow wrapper, tinted with egg, is rolled so thin you can see the filling pressing against it, topped with a tiny orange crown of fish roe that pops between your teeth. These are bold, in-your-face flavor bombs that make you understand why shumai became the gateway drug for so many Western diners discovering dim sum for the first time. Let me tell you about my first experience with shumai, sneaking out with my mother to a dim sum parlor when I was barely a teenager. That strange new world of rolling carts and rapid-fire Cantonese opened up an entire universe of flavors I didn't know existed. And shumai was my entry point into that universe. Now, decades later, after working in Chinese kitchens and eating my way through every dim sum joint from here to Hong Kong, these at Ellie's stand among the best I've encountered. They're not trying to reinvent anything, just executing a classic with such precision and quality ingredients that you remember why classics become classics in the first place. The salt and pepper calamari represents a different side of Cantonese cooking, the wok hei school of high-heat, lightning-fast technique. This isn't your Italian-American calamari swimming in marinara. This is seafood transformed into something almost ethereal through precise temperature control and timing. The squid at Ellie's is sliced into perfect rings, each piece tender as butter with no hint of that rubber band texture that plagues inferior versions. The coating is gossamer thin, just enough to provide crunch without masking the delicate seafood. And it's been tossed with enough toasted garlic to perfume your entire table. Those green chilies aren't just garnish. They're fresh jalapenos or serranos that have been flash fried until their skins blister, concentrating their heat and sweetness. Every piece arrives at your table still crackling from the oil, hot enough to fog your glasses when you lean in for that first bite. The seasoning is assertive but not aggressive. Coarse salt crystals that crunch between your teeth. Freshly cracked black pepper that provides a slow burn. This is the dish that makes you understand why salt and pepper preparations became a signature of Cantonese cuisine, turning simple ingredients into something transcendent through technique alone. Let's venture into more adventurous territory with the squid ink dumplings, a modern innovation that shows Ellie's isn't just about slavishly recreating classics. The jet black wrapper isn't just for Instagram. The squid ink adds a subtle briny depth that enhances the seafood filling without overwhelming it. Inside, you'll find a mixture of shrimp and scallop that's been chopped just enough to bind together while maintaining distinct pieces for textural interest. There's a hint of ginger, a whisper of sesame oil, and what I suspect is a touch of XO sauce, adding that funky, fermented complexity. These are conversation starters, the kind of dish you order to show you're not some dim sum tourist content with just hargao and shumai. Yet, they're not gimmicky. The flavors justify the dramatic presentation, each component working in harmony to create something genuinely special. The char siu bao at Ellie's might be the best argument for why this place is destined for greatness. These aren't those sad, dried-out hockey pucks you find at lesser establishments, where the filling tastes like it came from a can. The barbecue pork filling is made in-house, daily, and you can taste the difference in every bite. Chunks of pork that have been roasted until the edges caramelize, then chopped and mixed with a sauce that balances sweet, savory, and just a hint of char. The dough itself is a marvel, achieving that perfect balance between fluffy and substantial, with a top that splits open during steaming to reveal the glistening filling within. When you tear one open, steam escapes, carrying the aroma of five-spice, hoisin, and that distinctive char siu sweetness that makes your mouth water involuntarily. The ratio of filling to dough is spot on, generous enough that you get pork in every bite, but not so much that the bun falls apart in your hands. I could eat nothing but these. Maybe grab a dozen to go and call it a day, because they represent everything that makes great dim sum great. They're comforting yet complex, familiar yet perfectly executed. The kind of dish that reminds you why sometimes the old ways really are the best ways. The salt and pepper shrimp here deserves its own moment in the spotlight, because it represents a philosophical approach to seafood that's distinctly Cantonese. While Western cuisine often sees shells as something to be discarded, Chinese cooking embraces them as integral to the dish, providing both flavor and textural contrast. These aren't those sad pre-peeled shrimp you find at all-you-can-eat buffets. These are whole prawns, heads and shells intact, fried until the shells become as crispy as potato chips. The technique is crucial. The oil must be at exactly the right temperature to crisp the shells, without overcooking the delicate meat inside. When done correctly, as they are here, you can eat the entire shrimp, shell and all, the crispy exterior providing a satisfying crunch before giving way to the sweet, tender meat. The seasoning mixture, coarse salt, cracked pepper, dried chilies, and masses of fried garlic clings to every crevice, ensuring each bite is an explosion of flavor. I know some of you are skeptical about eating shrimp shells, but I urge you to try them this way at least once. Think of them like soft-shell crab. That same satisfying crunch, that same concentration of seafood flavor, that same primal satisfaction of eating something whole. The gentleman we met outside before opening specifically recommended these, and after trying them, I wanted to find him and shake his hand. They're easily on par with the legendary version at Wicked Spoon, which I previously considered the gold standard for this dish in Vegas. Now we need to discuss what might be the single best dish at Ellie's, the XO sauce rice noodles that will absolutely ruin you for inferior versions elsewhere. XO sauce itself is a relatively recent invention, created in Hong Kong in the 1980s, when wealthy hotel chefs wanted to create the ultimate luxury condiment. Named after extra old cognac, not because it contains any, but because XO represented the pinnacle of luxury in the 1980s Hong Kong. This sauce is pure, concentrated umami. Dried scallops, dried shrimp, Jinhua ham, garlic, and chilies are slowly cooked in oil until they create this intense, funky, addictive paste that costs more per ounce than some perfumes. At Ellie's, they're using real XO sauce. You can tell from the depth of flavor, that distinctive brininess that only comes from quality dried seafood. The rice noodles are hand-pulled and rolled into tight little nests, then wok-fried over screaming high heat until the edges char and crisp. Bean sprouts provide crucial textural contrast, their fresh crunch cutting through the rich, oily sauce. Scallions and chilies are scattered throughout, adding brightness and heat that prevents the dish from becoming too heavy despite its intensity. This is the dish that had the woman next to us attempting a second theft. And honestly, I can't blame her. One bite and you understand why XO sauce became the obsession of chefs worldwide. It's umami cranked to 11. Flavor so intense, it almost doesn't seem possible. I found myself guarding this plate like a dragon hoarding gold, unwilling to share even with my dining companions. At $5.99, this dish alone justifies the trip to Ellie's, and I guarantee you'll be thinking about it for days afterward. The turnip cakes, or lo bak go, represent the more subtle side of dim sum, though subtle doesn't mean boring when executed at this level. These have been a fixture of Cantonese tea houses for over a century, traditionally served during Lunar New Year as a symbol of prosperity and good fortune. The base is grated daikon radish mixed with rice flour and steamed into a firm cake, then sliced and pan-fried until the exterior develops a golden crust. Ellie's version achieves that perfect balance, crispy outside, creamy inside, with just enough structural integrity to pick up with chopsticks without falling apart. The mix-ins are where these really shine. Tiny nuggets of Chinese sausage made in-house, providing little pockets of sweet, fatty intensity. There's dried shrimp adding a funky depth, and what I suspect is a touch of dried scallop, contributing to that overall umami richness. The texture is remarkably similar to a really good potato pancake. That same satisfying contrast between crispy exterior and creamy interior. These don't need any sauce, though a tiny dab of oyster sauce certainly doesn't hurt if you're looking for an extra flavor dimension. Finally, let's end with dessert. The sesame balls, filled with molten egg custard, that provide the perfect finale to this dim sum symphony. These have been around since the Tang Dynasty, traditionally filled with lotus seed paste or red bean. But Ellie's modern interpretation with egg custard is inspired. The glutinous rice flour dough is rolled in sesame seeds and deep-fried until it puffs up like a balloon, creating this incredible hollow sphere with a crispy, seed-studded exterior. When you bite into it, and you must be careful here, because the filling is legitimately molten. Liquid gold custard oozes out like yolk from a perfectly poached egg. The contrast is magical. Nutty sesame, crispy shell, chewy dough, and that rich, sweet custard that coats your mouth with velvety richness. It's sophisticated comfort food, the kind of dessert that makes you close your eyes and sigh contentedly. These are every bit as good as any liu sha bao I've had, including the famous ones at Palette Tea Lounge. They're the perfect ending to what might be the best dim sum meal currently available in Las Vegas. So here's the bottom line on Ellie's Chinese restaurant, and I don't say this lightly. This is destination dining masquerading as a strip mall hidden gem. In less than a month, they've established themselves as a serious contender in Vegas's competitive dim sum scene. And they're doing it with no fanfare, no PR machine, just absolutely stellar food at prices that feel like a mistake. The $5.99 grand opening pricing won't last forever. It can't, not with quality like this. When word really gets out, and it will, this place will be packed from open to close, with hour-long waits on weekends. Right now, you have a window of opportunity to experience something special before the masses discover it. This is the kind of place that makes you remember why you fell in love with dim sum in the first place. The ritual of the meal, the variety of flavors and textures, the communal aspect of sharing small plates. The owner, who came directly from China and still doesn't speak English, is cooking the food she grew up with. And that authenticity shines through in every single dish. This isn't fusion. It isn't elevated. It isn't reimagined. It's just traditional dim sum executed at an incredibly high level with pristine ingredients. For dim sum veterans, Ellie's offers execution that rivals or exceeds established favorites, like Ping Pang Pong or District 1. For newcomers, it's the perfect introduction to the cuisine. Approachable pricing, consistent quality, and a menu that covers all the classics without being overwhelming. The service, led by the charming manager Jimmy, is attentive without being intrusive, helpful without being condescending. They understand that good dim sum is as much about the experience as the food, and they've created an environment that feels both authentic and welcoming. Is everything perfect? Nearly. The space itself is nothing special. Typical strip mall ambiance with functional rather than beautiful decor. They don't have a full bar, just beer and wine. Though honestly, chrysanthemum tea is the proper dim sum beverage anyway. The parking can be challenging on weekends, but that's true for all of Chinatown. These are minor quibbles against what is otherwise a near-flawless dim sum experience. When you can get food of this quality at these prices in Las Vegas, you don't complain about the lack of tablecloths. My recommendation? Go immediately, go often, and go hungry. Order everything I've mentioned and then order it again. Because at these prices, you can afford to be gluttonous. Bring friends who appreciate good food, but maybe avoid those who might try to steal your dumplings. This is the kind of place that creates regulars, that inspires loyalty, that becomes part of your Vegas routine. In a city constantly chasing the next big thing, the newest celebrity chef, the most Instagram-worthy dessert, Ellie's is refreshingly focused on just one thing: serving exceptional dim sum at fair prices. They're not trying to reinvent the wheel, they're just making the best damn wheel you've ever tasted. Years from now, when Ellie's is an institution with multiple locations and reservation lists, you'll be able to say you were there at the beginning. You ate there when the sign was still temporary, when everything was $5.99, when you could still walk in without a wait. This is how Vegas food legends begin. Quietly, in strip malls, with owners who care more about the food than the hype. Ellie's isn't just another Chinese restaurant. It's a reminder of what restaurants can be when they focus on what really matters. Until we eat again, this is Red Lip saying, get yourself to Ellie's before the secret's completely out. And when you go, when you taste that first perfect hargao or bite into those incredible exo noodles, remember where you heard about it first. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. According to YouTube, 80% of you watching aren't subscribed, which frankly explains a lot about the state of the world. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next discovery. Because in Vegas, the best meals are often hiding in the most unexpected places. Leave a comment below telling me about your favorite dim sum memories. Or better yet, let me know when you make it to Ellie's. And if you see someone there frantically ordering everything on the menu while taking notes, that's probably me. Back from my third visit this week. Until next time, keep eating adventurously, keep exploring beyond the Strip, and keep supporting the small, family-owned places that make Vegas dining truly special. This is Red Lip, signing off from the best new restaurant you haven't heard of. Yet.